Okay, tonight's 3 Nephi, chapter 22.
And then shall that which is written come to pass. Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear. Break forth into singing, and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord. Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thy habitations. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles, and make the desolate cities to be inhabited.
Okay, so as you look at what's written here, okay, this is from the prophet Isaiah, okay, chapter 54 in particular. All right, and so this is Jesus quoting the words of Isaiah. And so this particular prophecy, as it says in the heading for the chapter, says regarding the future of Israel in the latter days. Okay, so therefore we can assume that this is referring to Israel in some way. And so now when you say, when we read, it says, sing, O barren, that thou didst not hear, all right, and about usually somebody who's barren would be somebody who has not had children, okay, so now we're referring to Israel as somebody not having children, right, and so as it continues, it says, thou that did not travail with child, that didn't have any children. It says, for more of the children of the desolate, the children of the married wife, saith the Lord, okay, so it's sounding a little confusing as you hear that, right, but it would sound like it's saying that there's more children available for those who had not had children. And in particular, as we're going to see when we get down to verse 3, it says that thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Right? So what this is really getting at is, we've read a lot of prophecy about the future of Israel and the future of the Gentiles and about the coming of Zion and the things that we look forward to as a church. Right? And so what it's saying is that when Israel is set up and brought back together and reunited at the time of Zion, that the Gentiles would be, in essence, made part of the family. So that's why it's saying the Gentiles will be sort of like their children at that time, that they'll be brought in, well, it says inherited, I almost call it adopted, they would be part of the family, part of the house of Israel. It would no longer be just about Israel per se, but really all the believers of Christ. And so even if you're not of Israel, you would be able to be part of certainly of the family of God at that time. So Israel would be adopting the Gentiles in as part of their family at that time, because it's about all the people who would want to serve God and recognize Christ. Verse 2, I think, where it says, enlarge the place of thy tent and so forth, it sounded like, basically like make your house bigger because your family's going to grow. So, again, it's all just prophetic type thing. It's not really talking about a real tent or a real house, but really just talking about, make room for more people, because the Gentiles are going to be brought in as part of the house of Israel at that time.
Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood any more. For thy Maker, thy husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou wast refused, saith thy God.
Okay, so again, remembering that the prophecy is supposed to be about Israel. So when it's referring to a woman here, right, that is still talking about Israel. And so what it's saying in verse 4, it says to not be ashamed and to forget the shame of your youth, and you won't remember the reproach of youth, and remember the reproach of widowhood and so forth. See, Israel's history is such that they did not accept Christ, that they were scattered as a result, that God basically punished them. So, but at the time that they're brought back together, basically all is forgotten at that point. I mean, of course, it's their ancestors anyway, but it's saying that don't worry about looking back. Now we look forward, because now we have good things to look forward to. So don't worry about the things that have happened in the past, right? And in 5, it gives this woman or widow a husband, which is the Lord, right? It says basically they would be like married to God. That's why it says that thy husband, the Lord of hosts, is his name, the Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, right? The God of the whole earth shall he be called. So you're now married to God, because now you've accepted Christ. You're part of you are the family of God at this point. So So that's what we're referring to there. And then in 6, when it says, the Lord has called you as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, all right, so now it's being brought back into the good graces of God because they're brought back together, and now they're able to serve the Lord and recognize Christ as their Redeemer.
For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. For this the waters of Noah unto me, for as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my people be removed, saith the Lord that hath mercy on thee.
Right, so then, but now it says, for a small moment, he says, I've forsaken thee. So it would be covering the time from when they rejected Christ until the time that they accept Christ, right? So it would include now, right? But it would go from back then to the time of Zion, right? So in 7, when it's saying, for a small moment have I forsaken thee, to God, that's just a small moment. See, for us, it's maybe thousands of years, but to God, thousands of years is like a small period of time, right? Or there's a verse that says 1,000 years is like a day to God, so it doesn't, so to him that's a very short period of time, even though to us it's a very long period of time, right? You look at the time that Israel was rejecting Christ, and so basically God was punished them, he scattered them, and so forth. So he's saying for that period of time, I've forsaken you. It says, but in the second half of 7, with great mercy will I gather thee. So I'll bring you back together at the time of Zion. Right? And now continuing in 8, it says, in a little wrath or anger, I hid my face from you for a moment, the same thing, but with everlasting kindness I'll have mercy on you. So in other words, all right, yeah, I was upset with you for a little while, but now we're going to all get back together and make up and be friends and be family and so forth. So that's the time of the gathering of Israel that would occur. Okay, now in 9, when it starts talking about Noah, the time of Noah, there was the flood, and God has made a promise that he wouldn't flood the earth again. So 9 is saying that the same way that he promised the people at the time of Noah that he would no longer flood the earth, he's making the same promise to Israel that basically, I'm not going to hold it against you what happened in the past. Right? I'm not going to be angry with you. You're going to be all brought back together. I keep using the term, we're going to be one big happy family, right? We're not going to look back. We're just going to look forward, and I'm not going to be angry for what's happened. So he's making the same kind of promise, and he's just using the Noah thing as an example to say, just like he made a promise to the people then, making a promise to the people now, the same kind of promise. In 10, just a continuation of that, it says the mountains and hills will be removed, but my kindness will not depart from you. All right, so that he's making a promise. He's saying that, that I was upset that Israel did this. But now it's going to come a time when we're brought back together, and then you're going to serve God and recognize Christ as your Redeemer, and we're not going to look back, we're going to look forward.
O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates, and thy gates of carbuncles, and all thy borders of pleasant stones. And all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. In righteousness shalt thou be established, thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee.
The last few verses, God's been talking about when the people are brought back together at the time of Zion, that there'd be no hard feelings, I'll say, or that we're going to be together, we're not going to look back. Now in these, it's describing what it would be like. Okay, so as you look in 11, it says, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors and lay thy foundations with sapphires. It means, what sapphires are, they're nice, pretty stones, right? And 12, I'll make the windows of the gates of carbuncles, the borders of pleasant stones. He's describing a city, right? We're describing a way of living, in a pleasant type of atmosphere. So he's, trying to describe something that's going to be pleasant for the people as opposed to hardships, right? And this is 13, thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children, right? And 14, in righteousness you'll be established, and you shall not fear, and from terror it's not going to come near you, right? So he's describing a very pleasant environment, right? With nice places to live, and your children will be taught of the Lord. They're going to be kept safe and have peace. You don't have to be afraid, right? So it sounds like a nice place if that was being advertised for you to move into that city. It's not like a nice city to go to, right? Nice, nice houses to live in, and it's peaceful and no trouble, and children would be taught good things, right? That sounds like a nice city. So this is what he's describing, and that would be the city of Zion at that time, right? So you can see as we're reading these verses, again, these are contained in Isaiah chapter 54, right? But they're listed here. So in the context that they are here, we can understand what it's talking about. If you were just reading it at random in Isaiah, someone might not know what that's referring to, but that's in this context, you can see that it applies to the time of Zion and the city of Zion.
Behold, they shall surely gather together against thee, not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord.
These verses sound like some things from the last couple chapters, if you recall, that we read a couple chapters where it talked about if there were any enemies of the people at that time, enemies of Israel, that they would not be successful, that God would be with his people and with the people of Israel, would protect them, allow them to be successful in any conflict. And that's what you see here. It says in 15, it says, anybody that comes against you, that'll be them, not me. So I'm not going to be the one sending anybody against you, because we just said everything's forgiven, right? But it says, whoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. So in other words, we're not going to be successful. So anybody that tries to challenge your peace, it's not going to be successful, because God's going to protect the people at that time, right? And 16 talks about the weapons that they would have if need be, and 17, no weapon that's formed against you will prosper, right? So it's talking about that they would be protected at that time. So because he just described a land of peace and a time of peace, so if you have to worry about people attacking you, then it's not very peaceful. So he says, if people would attack you, then he says, I'll protect you, so you don't have to worry about it. No weapons against you is going to prosper, and no one's going to be successful in trying to upset your peace at that time. So again, he's trying to describe a peaceful time that the people can look forward to, a time when Israel is brought back together.